Welcome everybody to the first virtual company showrooms that is organised by the Office for Alumni Relations. We're delighted to see so many people joining us. We're also delighted to have three representatives, three alumni from SixSq for today's virtual company showroom. Before we actually kick off the proceedings, we'll have 30 minutes presentation from SixSq where they'll give you information about the company and the types of profile that they're currently recruiting. You can find their job opportunities on alumni.CERN. Now, some of you may not yet be members of the alumni network, so we highly recommend you sign up, you join the network, and then you'll be kept up to date with all these types of events that we do to support those who are in their early careers. And we have already plenty of companies lined up for these virtual company showrooms. We'll be doing at least one per month. I also wanted to let you know that we have moving out of academia to data science and data engineering scheduled for the 11th of March. And as I said, we have plenty of virtual company showrooms in the pipeline as well. So when you sign up and you join alumni.CERN, please do make sure that you keep your profiles up to date. You can synchronize your profiles with your LinkedIn profile, and just make sure that as I said, that your profile's up to date so that we know what you're up to, and that will also facilitate your networking. You may also want to have a look if you're planning on leaving the organization soon, you want to prepare for moving away from CERN. We have currently 29 mentors who are ready and waiting to share their experience with you. So all of this can be found on alumni.CERN, of course, mentoring under the mentoring menu. So I'd like to now hand over, I think, to Meb, who is a CERN alum, who founded SixSq. Meb, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Rachel. So good morning, everybody. I think we should be good from a sound perspective. The cavalcade just whizzed by our window. I live downtown Geneva, so hopefully we'll be okay, because a minute before I joined, it was a bit crazy. so I think we should be good. All right. So well, thanks, Rachel. Thanks for the team to give us the opportunity to showcase SixSq, and I've got Constantine and Chris with me to also share a bit of our experience. Know how it is to move on from CERN to join a company like SixSq. I thought I'd just let the three of us introduce ourselves quickly. I've got a few slides to explain a little bit what we do at SixSq, and then explain a little bit what we're looking for, and then hopefully plenty of time for Q&A, so that you understand what we are, what we do, what we're looking for, and then so you can actually better assess the opportunity that we have. So I'll start. So MEB stands for Marc-Élian Bégin. So I'm a mechanical engineer, specialized in aerospace by training, so I worked in the space sector for about 10 years. So I was born in France, grew up in Canada. I've got two passports, so moved around Europe, worked on the Ariane 5 rocket and the International Space Station. And then my real calling was software. So in 2003, I heard that CERN was looking for engineers, and I joined the grid deployment group back then. My claim to fame at CERN is perhaps being one of the early evangelists of cloud computing. So I came back excited from a conference in 2007 when Amazon has just announced cloud, and thought there was like a transformational technology. And believe it or not, back then it was not that popular. But things have obviously changed since then, and we created SixSq in 2008. And then 2018. We basically reposition from a cloud perspective the company as a startup focusing on edge computing. And then October 2020, we started looking for funding, and then that led in last summer to basically the acquisition of SixSq by a French group called Equinox. It's a telco provider, technology provider. So that means that we have now funding to accelerate our roadmap. We're staying in Geneva. That's part of the agreement. So that's not going to change. But that means two things. We can actually build a commercial organization and reinforce our technical capabilities. So that's what we are, what we do. And I'll give you more details about this in a few minutes. But Constantin, you want to talk a little bit about yourself and what you did at CERN and when you joined SixSq?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Konstantin Skaburskas. I'm a technical lead and Scrum Master at SixSq. So before joining CERN, I actually originally from Estonia. I studied there physics and biomedical engineering, and well, again, as MEB, I felt a passion to software engineering, and when there was a position opened at CERN in IT department, so I applied and got accepted. So I spent at CERN 5 years working in 2 groups, integration and operation groups for G-Lite, which is a grid middleware. And in parallel, I was working in a Healthy Child project. I was a technology liaison between the technology that CERN was building those days with distributed computing and application to the health sector in hospitals in Europe. Then when my contract ended, so I applied to SixSq and got accepted. So I think I was the first employee. Was the first employee at SixSq. Lately I've been working on big data projects with European Space Agency that we have contracts with, and continue working on that at the moment as well. So I think that summarizes what I did and what I do at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Konstantin. So Chris, you want to share a few things about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Chris, well, short for Cristóvão, which is too hard to spell, so just Chris is just fine. I have a master's degree from Portugal. I studied in Portugal. I have a master's in electrical and computer engineering. And right after my master's, I applied for a program, a special program at CERN, where I was a trainee for a couple of years, and then I shifted towards a fellowship. So I was at CERN from 2013 to 2017. I was doing also IT. I was a computing engineer. I was working in the adoption of cloud resources into the WLTG. So we were at a time where CERN was very keen on not only building what you might know as the OpenStack infrastructure at CERN, but also studying how to acquire cloud resources from commercial clouds like Amazon or commercial brokers like SixSq at a time. So I got the chance to not only work with plenty of people in the experiment side, but also on the IT side. And I worked in lots of projects, one of which was with SixSq. So when it was time for me to move out of CERN, I actually just pinged MEB directly in SixSq and the CEO and CTO at the time. This was a position for an R&D technical project manager, which I was very keen on starting on my side. And it was also around cloud computing and edge computing. So luckily I got accepted there. I got a chance to work, and I'm still working at the moment with European projects. I'm working with companies all over Europe around cloud computing and edge computing, still doing a lot of software architecture and technical work. And yeah, that's pretty much it so far.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so hopefully it gives you a little perspective over what we do and how the transition took place. Let me share my screen. I just want to show you a little bit about a few slides on what we do, and then we'll start focusing a bit more on what we're looking for in terms of positions. So SixSq is it's a software company. And our pitch is to accelerate edge computing. And what is edge computing? It's basically, that's my definition at least. It's the IT infrastructure of an organization that is outside the cloud or the data center. It's a simple definition, but I think it's reasonably accurate. And we accelerate the transition towards edge computing with a SaaS platform that includes a marketplace of business application. Okay, and I'll explain this a little bit in a minute. Okay, and why does this matter, right? Why do we do this? Why is this a problem worth solving? So according to IDC, which is a big analyst firm, by 2025, which is tomorrow, there'll be like a ridiculous number of connected IoT devices producing 80 zettabytes of data out there, and the cloud as it is today is not designed to handle and process that level of data. So that's why edge computing was coined, was created. So on the left here, you have what would happen if you wanted to connect all of your things, so Internet of Things, the things that are producing data, for example, directly to the cloud. There's a number of issues that you have here, cloud costs, high latency, going back and forth across a wide area network, intrusion into the privacy sphere, which is becoming more and more important when you think about video cameras that are in the public space, for example. So there's a number of issues that are there. On the right of this slide, it's the edge respond to this problem, which is instead of moving the data to the cloud to process it there, we move the processing close to the source of data. We encapsulate this into an edge device. So it's a computer that runs the application software that will process that data in situ. So low network costs and low latencies, because we don't have to go back and forth to the cloud. We can remove any privacy issues into the data that we process, and it can work semi-autonomously. And at scale, it rocks, right? We can actually scale this system arguably better than the original one. And what is also super interesting is the fact that, and why those numbers are so big, it's because this transition actually concerns probably every industry that is concerned by digital transformation. Okay, whether it's transport, mobility, retail, energy, telco, health, name it. Okay, everybody is at one point or another who's going to have to ask the question, is there a point where we're starting to move things towards the edge? Okay, so it's a big play field to be in. So how do we do that? Well, it's with a very simple solution. I mean, the details are complex, but the actual value proposition is simple. We have some software that we run into an edge device that we're renaming now to Edge, Nuvla Edge. This is what Chris has done a lot of work on that in our team. It transforms a computer into something that will connect to a management platform we call Nuvla.io. And Nuvla.io is the SaaS that includes a marketplace where we have containerized applications that can be deployed to the edge. And why we do that, it's because at the edge we have a lot of sensors or actuators connected, cameras, ground loops, air quality sensors, and so on, that we want to basically create insights out of. And it works with the cloud as well, right? So we're able to create this kind of edge to cloud solutions. And that's where what we're looking to reinforce is basically those two sides of our architecture: the edge part and the management part in the back end. Last year, we had our customers processed about 50 petabytes of data at the edge using the system, and they basically retrieved about 1 petabyte of data. Just to give you some feeling in terms of how the platform is used. Here's a screenshot of what the application looks like with the App Store in the system. And just to finish, before we look at what we're looking for, basically the use cases of our customers using this platform will fall into 3 categories. Understand the presence, the present, situational awareness, what's going on, detecting events and objects and so on, as things are happening. Understanding the past, when something is happening, sometimes you want to go back a little bit in the past to figure out what was going on. to do forensic analysis and so on, and more, of course, to predict the future. Right? Can we do predictive maintenance? Can we actually detect trends that will indicate an event that is going to happen in the future? So these are the types of applications, containerized applications that will be deployed and managed through the platform that we will be running at the edge and in the cloud. And that's where our job is to offer this solution to the market in order to resolve this problem. Okay, so hopefully this is clear enough, and I'm sure we'll have questions about that. One of the things, if you go to our website, you'll be able to see what Rachel was referring to in terms of the jobs that we've opened. The ones that will be probably the most relevant to the CERN alumni community, or people that, you guys still at CERN that are in the process of transitioning, will be the Edge software developer. So the software that runs in this Nuvla Edge, so in these Edge devices, the stack there is it's Python. It's based heavily on Docker, although we're moving towards Kubernetes as well. So it's basically creating and managing and building that software solution into something that is extremely robust and reliable. Okay, so that's the Edge software developer position. The functional software developer part is so the Nuvla IO and the Nuvla software that's behind. And by the way, a lot of this software is open source, and so we believe strongly in open source. And the Edge software, especially that's the software that runs into the customer's infrastructure, is really important. That is open source, and it will remain open source for a long time. The back end is written in a functional language called Clojure. That's what we're using to build the solution. So we're looking at extending our capabilities in there. If you haven't written code in Clojure, don't worry too much about it. It's the functional part that matters. Is this mindset that is interesting in these types of technologies. And behind the hood, you have your standard technologies such as Elasticsearch, Kafka, Zookeeper, and so on. And as Chris was relating, and Konstantin as well, we do a lot of projects, European projects, Swiss projects, and complex projects with the European Space Agency, for example. And so we're looking for a project coordinator who's going to help us manage those projects, but also manage the relationship between the results of those projects and our technology roadmap, so that we're able to take full advantage of our participation to those projects, to our roadmap. And as our sales team start to grow, we're also going to create a lot of proof of concept that we'll be building with customers. So these are other types of mini project, in this case, much more tactical, which will require us for coordination in order for us to be able to help our customers take full advantage of our software. So I think I've been speaking quite quickly in order to sort of paint the picture, so that we have enough time to explore and discuss this. I don't know if Konstantin, Chris, you want to comment on what I was just saying. Okay, so first question is, does the Nuvla Edge support CUDA and GPU processing for machine learning applications?
So I think that the short answer is yes. And for example, yesterday we been to Tepaget, which is starting. We are starting a POC with them, and this is for the detection of wheelchair people on wheelchair approaching the bus stops and tram stops, and this is where they are planning on using a NVIDIA Xavier hardware, which is a Jetson NVIDIA, and this one has GPU in it, and the application that they've already been running there, and this application was developed by the University of Geneva, exactly uses the machine learning and the libraries that were mentioned in the question. So
okay, thanks
yes.
a lot for the answer. So the hardware is not standardized, depends on the project what's contained hardware box, let's say. This was my question, if it's standardized or is it just for this project you have the NanoJetson installed in the on the edge device?
So I'll take this one. Yeah, so our software is agnostic. So our motto is to be cloud neutral, hardware agnostic, application centric, and container native. Okay, so if there's a GPU, of course, the containers will have access to that GPU. Okay, so that will be the case. If there is no, then of course we can't invent it. Right? So that's sort of the philosophy, is to expose as many as the peripherals and the the accelerators that are available to the containerized environment in order to take advantage of them.
Okay, but you don't provide then the edge hardware as well as a service?
No. Okay,
so
we're working. Yeah. Yes. That we do software only, right? And so of course we work with the hardware manufacturers to to certify their hardware. And on our website you'll find a list of the hardware we've certified with them. But some customers bring their own hardware, and then we just basically help them certify the software stack. Okay, so from that perspective, it's more of a a Windows or an Android strategy in the relationship of our software to the hardware.
All the job opportunities are on alumni.cern, and it's great. Obviously, if you go to alumni.cern frequently, and it also helps us see. Well, we're in contact with the companies. We can see if alumni are successful in finding a position there, which we hope very much. Andre has a question. Andre, Andre has two questions. Would you be happy to come on cam and ask your question?
It's quite similar to the first one. So, but imagine that the customer comes up and says, okay, I have already a specific application which is state of art and that would cost too much to duplicate. For example I have is like state of art LiDAR processing. Would it be possible with your business model to install this existing application on your edge computing?
I would actually say it's not only possible, it's the point. Right? That's the objective. So the marketplace is actually there's a couple of things that you can do with it. First of all, it's an open system. So any customer, any user, and it's free to create an account, can actually create their own app. And in order to facilitate the deployment of that application into the edge. But it's also, there's a business opportunity here, because with the marketplace that we released last year, you can actually associate to that application a price. And then we've integrated Stripe, which is a competitor to PayPal. So you can actually sell as a vendor, you can sell your application on the marketplace. And customers, whenever they deploy this application, will basically be generating revenue for the vendor. So that's one of the things that is interesting for customers to use the platform as a way to manage their relationship with some of the software vendors in order for them to deploy those applications in their edge infrastructure that is enabled by the Nuvla Edge software.
That's
a great question.
That's a great answer, actually. Yeah. It's completely new dimensions. Thank you. And my second question is HR related. I think like the vacancy says you only considering people within the European Union. Is it like strict restriction, or you're okay to open for candidates outside, make some kind of visa sponsorship or residence permit sponsorship?
So, okay, it's a good question. It's much easier for us to operate for the team members that want to be located in our team in Geneva. It's much simpler to have Swiss or European passport holders. Now we are starting to explore remote working as well. So if this is something that you're interested in, get in touch, provide the specifics of your situation, and we'll be very happy to look into how we can accommodate that.
Thank you for the additional answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
But Matt, just to add up to that, I mean, if the person, I think there's also another way to look at it, which is if the person is actually living in Geneva, but the nationality is from outside the European Union. So HR-wise, I mean, we have had people from the US in the past at SixSq. So I don't really know how it works in Switzerland in terms of whether a sponsorship should come from the company or not, but I'm guessing this would not be a problem if the person is located in Switzerland.
I mean, the devil is in the detail, so that's why Andre, just submit here. Indeed, I mean, you're right, Chris. So, but some cases are more difficult than others, right? And by the way, we are very well known in Geneva, so we do have a direct relationship with the administration that handles some of those issues. So there's no tricks, there's no we're not cutting corners, but we have access to good information. That's what I meant. So we should be able to get to it quickly if you have questions or just to address a specific situation.
Can I jump in here? You can contact all three of the alumni on alumni.CERN.
Okay.
You can look up Meb or Chris or Konstantin.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just have to plug the alumni platform as well.
Sure.
No, as you should. No, it's very helpful. So indeed.
Okay, we now have a question from Ricardo. Ricardo, would you like to come on cam to ask yours? Yours is more of a technical question.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It was quite interesting. You mentioned Kubernetes, and there is a lot of containerized work that you guys are doing to deploy and to manage your application, if I understood correctly. And you said it's heavily focused on Docker. I suppose maybe that has to do with Swarm, and now you're moving towards Kubernetes, or I'm interested to know a little bit more if you can share.
We can share this one. So basically, as Meb was saying before, everything we do is software. And what we do is on the edge side, we have software that will enable the environment for you to run your applications at the edge. Right now, this software is deployed through Docker containers, either in Swarm mode or standalone mode. And it will soon, we have a proof of concept already, to be deployed in Kubernetes environments as well. From Nuvla, however, the Nuvla.io platform, you can build your applications to be deployed either at the edge or at the cloud. And we do support both mechanisms. So let's say you have a cloud infrastructure that you want to deploy applications to, you can deploy Kubernetes applications from Nuvla.io to your cloud. And to the edge as well, if you have Kubernetes enabled, our current software stack, our Nuvla Edge, does support the reporting of all the metrics and information that you need to in order for you to know whether Kubernetes is enabled or not, and whether you can deploy as well Kubernetes applications at the edge. So there's plenty of things going on. One of them is the support for applications, which we do for both Docker and Kubernetes. And the other one is the native installation of our software in both Docker and Kubernetes. And for that specific use case, yes, the Nuvla Edge is coming soon to Kubernetes, and Nuvla.io is already there as well, because it's open source. If you want to deploy your own instance, you can do it either Docker or Kubernetes.
Konstantin, you want to talk a little bit about the way we use Kubernetes to manage Nuvla.io itself? Or?
Oh, yeah. So the Nuvla.io is a service that Matt presented and showcased in his presentation. So at the moment, it's running in a Docker Swarm. However, we've been already for 1 year running in parallel the similar installations of or instances of Nuvla for different projects, including European Space Agency, running Nuvla as a edge to cloud manager and edge device manager on Kubernetes. So at the moment, we have a roadmap for the migration of our SaaS platform or our platform on the cloud from the Docker Swarm that is running on at the moment to Kubernetes. So in a midterm future, we will have Nuvla.io running on Kubernetes as well.
Thank you. I think there might be a question from Jordan related to that.
So my question is, you're currently private? Are you privately currently owned company, or what is the current structure at the moment, and how many employees as well? And what is the structure right now? And can you as well bring some parallel to another? I mean, there's another company I immediately have in mind when I learned about you is Databricks. So can you draw as well parallel? Of course, you were concentrating more on edge computing, but I just wanted to learn a bit more about the history, the structure, and what is your vision for the next 5 years?
Where we are, basically, SixSq is now owned by Equinox, so they own all the shares. But as part of the transaction, we remain autonomous in the sense that we have our own brand, our own roadmap, our own way of doing things. What is interesting in this transaction is that Equinox is a hardware company that does a lot of software, like many hardware companies. We are a software company that do services, online services. So there's a difference in culture, but they will meet in the future. So in terms of direction of travel, our ambition is to grow very fast, and then take advantage of the sales organization of Equinox to have a global footprint. So we are currently consolidating our business in Europe, expanding already in North America via that presence, and then probably have a global footprint in 2 or 3 years' time. But basically, my ambition is to with this is we will double the team between every 6 months and 12 months for the next 2 or 3 years, as we basically grow. And at one point, we will also probably start focusing on fewer segments of the economy. At the moment, we're quite broad in terms of retail, manufacturing, transport, energy, and telco. And I suspect there's going to be a further concentration and segmentation of our activities as we start to take a bigger piece of that pie.
Thank you, Mark. And are you aiming for IPO? Is my last question. And the last question is: do you offer shares as bonus to people who join the company?
So we don't offer shares. And as a company owned by Equinox, which is already a publicly listed company on the Euronext in Paris, then the IPO was done.
I understand. Yeah. Okay, that answers my question. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Sounds like you've got a lot of exciting opportunities for people in your company now. We had a question from Ahmed, but I'm not sure if you perhaps answered it. It dropped out a little bit at the beginning. Ahmed, do you want to come on cam and ask? Hi.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Good to see you again. Always
nice to see you too.
Healthy and smiling.
I try.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the presentation, Mark and colleagues. So actually, my question was answered just before about the shares and the formal aspects of the acquisition. But perhaps you could say a little bit more about the governance. I mean, you said you're autonomous, but a bit more about the governance of the company with respect to Equinox. And I had the second was perhaps you could say a bit more. Maybe I could ask another thing afterwards.
Of course. So basically the way SixSq is a Société Anonyme, so an SA company registered in Geneva. We have our own board of directors. I happen to be the CEO and the president of the board. And Equinox has seats, of course, in the company. Being owned by them, ultimately they have the ultimate say into the way the company operates. The only thing that is clear, and that was part of the negotiation, is that we will stay here in Geneva. So the operation of SixSq will remain here. That was sort of a fundamental element in the transaction. Now, with the transaction, we come a significant amount of investment that Equinox is making into SixSq in order to fund our business plan. And what is interesting as well is the fact that our business plan is multi-sector. So we are targeting the enterprise world in the sectors I mentioned before: retail, transport, manufacturing, energy. And then Equinox being, they're number 2 in some sectors to Cisco, right, in the networking space. Arguably quite away from Cisco, but still, right, there's a lot of people in that space. So through that, we have a second pillar of activity from a business development point of view, which is to enable the telco operators and the service providers of this world, because in some ways, the telcos have missed the boat on the cloud, right? The hyperscalers are doing all of the good business, and the telcos are being pushed at being just managing pipes. Edge computing is becoming an existential opportunity for them to reinvent and recreate value for their customers at the end of the network, right? That's where edge computing lives from a network perspective. So it creates these two great opportunities, and the business plan that we have in place is for SixSq to build its own development, but also assist Equinox in helping their customers who are 100 of the 800 telco operators around the world. Right? So it's those two aspects that we're targeting with our horizontal capabilities that NuvlaIO provides.
Thank you. And from a market perspective, who are your biggest competitors in Switzerland and Europe? I mean, some were indirectly mentioned, but from your point of view.
So our number one competitor at the moment is the internal solution, the organization that are trying to do it themselves, right? That's the number one. Now, in terms of companies that are competing with us, the hyperscalers are attempting to extend their cloud capabilities to the edge, but they remain cloud first, right? What Amazon and Google and Microsoft with Azure will try to do in the end is to sell you compute and storage, right? We are edge first, right? What we want is to help customers transform their data into information where it matters, and if the edge is the right place to do it, then we'll help them do that. So there's a tension there, but we're also working with all those hyperscalers because we're able to deploy workloads in their clouds. And then there's more niche companies like Zededa or Ori, Via perhaps, although there's a lot of hardware in there, that are attempting to do a similar thing with a very different strategy. Our SaaS first, our SaaS B2B puts us for the moment, anyways, in a good position because no one else has this maturity. It's still the old model of selling software licenses, and you have to install that on-prem and so on. So that's our differentiation. I suspect that within 12 months we'll have more direct competition, which is why it was important to close that transaction last year in order for us to be there when the market continues to accelerate.
Still on the subject of your company, we have a question. I'll invite Andres in a minute. We've got a quick question from Michele. So he said, could you please quote the annual turnover of your company?
Right. So now that we're part of a publicly listed company, it's more difficult for me to share our revenue. What I can say is that prior to the transaction, our best year was just before COVID. We had a turnover of 2.5 million euro. COVID, of course, was both a challenge and an opportunity to contract a little bit our opportunities and refocus on our edge to cloud value proposition. The Equinox just released now that they've made last year 103 million euro of turnover. And of course, we're contributing to some of that.
And then we can go to Artif. I hope I've pronounced it properly.
Arit. It's
Arit, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arit, I beg your pardon.
Yep. So I assume you hear me properly. So yeah, I wanted to know in terms of data sovereignty, where is and how is Nuvla, the server, Nuvla hosted, and if you have any kind of infrastructure or you use any kind of public service. I don't know, just if you could give some hint on that, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Nuvla.io is currently hosted on the Exoscale public cloud. And we're using basically the Geneva and Zurich regions for that. Sorry, so Exoscale is owned now by by Austrian Telecom, A1. So it's a European cloud, and we're basically making sure that our footprint remains in Switzerland and Europe. One thing to complement, because I had a conversation only yesterday with a Canadian company interested in using our services. We only, from a GDPR perspective, we only host in our platform name and email addresses of our customers. The payment system is done by Stripe, and Stripe will only organize bank transfers between the providers and the customers and ourselves. And they have agreements in pretty much every country in order for those transactions to stay within the country. So if basically, in the case of the question from the Canadian, a customer, if their vendor is Canadian and the customer, of course, is Canadian, then the transfers will remain in Canada. And although Nuvla.io is on a Swiss cloud or European cloud, it only does control. Like there's no data, there's no user data that goes through our servers, right? It remains between at the edge or between the edge and the cloud. So it's the user has the choice of being able to stay within their geographical region if they want. And even for the applications themselves, when you look at Docker images, for example, which will host the intellectual property of the application vendor or the provider of the application. Again, if they host that registry, that Docker registry in their own sovereign environment, then again, they will remain local to where they want to operate. So there's been perhaps you can see that there's been a lot of thoughts into making sure that we are able to operate a sovereign solution despite the fact that Nuvla.io is a SaaS, right? And this is why we're operating it in Switzerland and Europe, but also why we're very careful to make sure that we are not involved in the user data while it's moving between in the edge infrastructure or between the edge and the cloud infrastructure. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks. Very detailed. Thanks.
Right. Should we see if Andres has managed to
Yeah, I tried to solve it.
Perfect.
Yeah?
You've
That's
done
great.
it.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Always troubles with this, right? Okay, yeah, regarding the human resources thing, I want to be more clear about it because what I got from you guys is that maybe you are giving priority to people that are inside the European Union right now, or are able to work inside Europe in general. So yeah, that's kind of a question. And also if I'm interested in okay, I live outside the European Union, right? And I am interested in the position. So how can I be more clear about my situation? Who do I contact? I believe what you already said that with CERN Alumni, I can, but yeah, that part of the question so is answered, and the other one still a little bit confusing.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So thanks for the question. So like I said to another participant earlier, get in touch, explain your situation, and we'll try to give you an accurate answer. In order to work in our Geneva office, without a Swiss or European passport, it's much more difficult from a work permit perspective. Now, as I said before, now that we're looking into considering remote working, okay, then opens some possibilities, probably as a freelancer, however. But then there's just a consideration of time zones and so on, and we're creating a cohesive team effort, team spirit and so on is important. But we do recognize that talent is global, right? So we need to be able to accommodate that as well. So I hope I giving you some element of answers, but for the specifics, please get in touch, explain your situation, and we'll try to get back to you with
okay.
reasonable answers.
Yeah, I'll be writing you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We've got another question from Jordan. Take it away, please.
Yeah, I was just curious about the project management position. So what are the projects that are currently rising? You mentioned something about EU as well, aerospace sector. Can you just elaborate a few more words, if possible?
Yeah. So it's a project coordination position. We do a lot of projects, so the European projects, with funded by the European Commission. We're expecting, we've submitted a number of projects end of last year, and we're expecting answers very soon. We are about to launch a project funded by the European Space Agency in the field of broadcast, satellite broadcast, and 5G. So there's going to be a lot of our software is core to the architecture of this project. It includes, the BBC will be involved in this project, a number of European broadcasters and technology vendors as well. So that's going to be an interesting project with many moving parts. So project coordination is important for that. We also have a couple more projects that are, we'll be finishing this year. That Konstantin and Chris can describe a bit more if you're interested. The other aspect of project coordination is that as our sales team acquire customers, the first step in closing a customer often is a POC, so proof of concept. So these are like mini projects that we try to keep between 1 and 3 months in order for the customer to fall in love with our software and our services. So it's a different type of project that also requires tight coordination between the customer teams and ours. So it's those two types of coordination in terms of projects that we're looking for in that, and possibly also helping out with writing some of those larger proposals and coordinating our contribution to those efforts.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, if I may add something up here, that it's maybe is exactly on point, but there's something I actually wanted to say at the beginning of this talk, is that I was probably I was the last one from CERN to join SixSq. So Mev and Konstantin, and we also had other people from CERN. They were all prior to me, so I left CERN 4 and something years ago. And one of the things that I was missing the most, or I was more afraid of missing when leaving CERN, was the interaction and the interoperability with other sections, departments. We often work with the experiments outside our comfort zone, which for me was very cool. This is something that at SixSq, it was not lost whatsoever, because all of these projects, in fact, even with CERN, I've still been working with CERN since I've joined SixSq, because we have had 2 or 3 projects with CERN in the meantime. Those were HN Science Cloud, I don't know if you have heard of them, Ocre, and others. So throughout all of these projects, we typically work with 5, 10, or even more companies in one single project. So you get the chance to work with many European companies, which is super cool, and it's probably something you wouldn't expect to have, and you should not be afraid to lose that once you leave CERN, which is an organization with thousands of people. So even though SixSq is obviously smaller, you will still get to interact with other companies throughout Europe and the world on a daily basis.
Thanks, Chris. Indeed.
Great. Sounds very attractive. We have a question now from Maria. Would you like to come and ask your question on CAM, please?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to know, like, which benefits does the company offer, like discounts, days of holidays, remote work outside of COVID times. I don't know. I saw you have an office in Milan, I think. So a bit like, yeah, indeed, it's more like in the benefits part or HR part, or I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, so the standard part of the package, we work on so 25 days holidays. We are as flexible as possible in terms of working hours. We try to have like we start the day with a daily stand-up, or technical daily stand-up for the technical team at 9:45. So everybody has to be there for that time, unless there's meetings or other things that are happening. With COVID, we've been sort of like mixing in office and home working in different ways, and we keep on trying to improve at which frequency is the best way to be together and so on. We try to privilege public transport, so which we help our employees with. So typically TPG abonnement and so on, rather than parking places when possible, so that we contribute to our own level to a better place. I think it's really hopefully the flexibility and the variety of that our environment offers that is I don't know if it's unique, but perhaps a bit special in our organization, and the fact that, as Chris was saying, and Constantin, well, that was a bit also pre-COVID, but hopefully we'll find this again, is the ability to move around and then meet a lot of partners and customers as we go along. And the last thing I'd like to say from a personal development perspective, as the team is expected to grow reasonably quickly, you would be joining SixSq with a certain role, but I would expect that if we were to take a picture in 12 or 24 months from now, it's likely that you will have moved, expanded or moved up with the organization, or at least there will be this opportunity for you to grow, to expand with the organization. So that I think is part of the value proposition if you want to be a member of our team.
If it's okay, we had one other question that we wanted to ask you, which is related to the recruitment process. Could you describe, what happens from when people apply all the way through to being successful and working at SixSq?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, typically we have a first intro discussion. It's either done with myself or, sorry, one of my boys is arriving home and our dog is making sure everybody's aware. Sorry about that. So we'll have a first introduction interview. It's between 30 and 60 minutes. Then if that is successful, then for the technical positions, we have a sort of a technical interview with a quiz. So depending on which profile we will have, those quizzes are not there to grill you. It's really a way to explore and see how you solve problems. It's really based on problem solving rather than and memory of solutions, as you would have done at CERN or prior to joining CERN. And then finally, there'll be a more formal discussion around a contract proposal and negotiation of that. So it's those three steps typically that will take place for the technical position. For the sales position, then I involve Equinox because they have a lot of experience in terms of sales. So there's an extra step for the sales pre-sales position at that level.
Thanks, Meb. How long does the process usually take?
We're in a rush, like often. So we just signed one. It was a sales position, so it took 6 weeks for that one, and for a technical position, I suspect it could be faster. That is quite fast, I think. Great. We had one last question from Michele. I mean, it's also linked to benefits and salaries. So, Michele, perhaps would you like to come on cam and ask your question, please? If you're still there.
Yes. Could you see me? Okay.
Yes.
So concerning a person who is working as freelancer in a remote way, what kind of salary do you offer, and where the salary or the fees will be taxed, in Switzerland or in his country? I don't know.
Right. So, okay, thanks for the question. So I can't give you, unfortunately, a number in terms of the package. This would be a discussion between us. In terms of for freelancer, the taxation would be handled by the freelancer. So you would have to handle social security contributions and any form of income taxation in your home country or your registered country. And we would expect basically a regular a part of the package, regular trips, between, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks to spend a few days in our offices in Geneva, to kind of keep a cohesive team and make sure we keep on knowing each other as we go forward.
Very good. Thank you, and good luck for the future.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Okay, we just 3 minutes past 12. We were scheduled to finish it at 12. So I think we can wrap up now. I've shared, you can see that, and I hope that Meb, Constantine, I didn't get around to getting your profile, but we'll share it with the participants after the event. So we recorded the event, so we'll post that very soon. I guess people can use it as well to do a little bit of homework before they apply for the positions. So I'm sure everybody can get in touch with our alumni from SixSq to ask more questions if they have any. SixSq, thank you so much for taking part in today's virtual company showroom. It's been really informative and super interesting, and I really hope that you find some great candidates from the CERN Alumni talent pool. And I wish everybody that joined us today good luck. Keep looking on alumni.cern for job opportunities and other events that are similar to this, and also to reach out to colleagues that are working outside of the organization, because they're always there to help you, support you, and give you advice. So we'll see you in February for the next virtual company showroom, and just thanks very much and good luck.